What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Happy Tuesday, man. Happy Tuesday. Um, Thought I would come on, man. Obviously I've been slacking, been MIA for the past few weeks. Um, Matter of fact, I think the last time I might have been on here was when right after, maybe like the Tuesday or the Wednesday, only a few days after we signed Kirk Cousins. And we also signed Darnell Mooney, and I don't even think we've went into some of the stuff that the Falcons have done since then, because the Falcons have done some stuff since then, and obviously it's not just the Falcons, man. Pretty big time in the sports world. The Braves are getting ready to have their first game to officially start the 2024 season up in Philadelphia in that shithole. Of a stadium, Citizens Bank Park. I just can't stand the Phillies. I can't. Got to keep it 100 with you. Can't stand the Phillies. Typically, man, obviously it's nice to see baseball back. I'm not too worried about what the Braves do earlier in the season. What I care about with the Atlanta Braves is October. That's what I care about, is how you do in October. That's ultimately what makes or breaks it. And this year, to me, the Atlanta Braves have to win a World Series. There's I don't think really any, if and but getting around that fact. The Braves need to go out and win the World Series this year. But I'm definitely excited to get baseball back, get the Atlanta Braves back. Obviously, we know the Braves are going to be doing their thing throughout the summer, leading into the fall, and that all starts Thursday up in Philadelphia. I'll probably put some Braves content out. I was maybe thinking about maybe doing like a season predictions, but to be completely honest with you, I could say, oh, Ronald's going to have another 40-70 season, or Matt Olson's going to hit 50 home runs again, or Austin Riley, it finally will win an MVP. Strider's gonna, win Cy Young. I could say all that. All I really care about is if the Braves win the World Series, and that should really be what defines this for the Atlanta Braves, because that we absolutely have the team to do it, and I think this is absolutely the year to do it. But, we're going to have a lot of time to talk about the Braves, man. Definitely excited that they're coming back. Do want to talk about the Falcons here, though. And man, when I tell you some things have happened, and, we're now officially on the road to the NFL draft. The NFL draft starts, I believe, in less than a month is the first round. So we will know where the Falcons will go in the NFL draft. We'll get a better idea. And we're already starting to get that idea of maybe where the Falcons are going to target as we are in pro day season. Some of the big schools have already had their pro day. Obviously, many more will still have theirs. But overall, it is definitely it is draft season indeed. We are fully underway in draft season, and obviously that's in the title, and I definitely do want to talk about that. I do want to make an announcement. Starting this Sunday, and obviously I know this Sunday is Easter, so I'll probably plan on doing it definitely Sunday night. Me and I plan on having Blake on this Sunday. We're gonna do a mock draft. So we're gonna go and talk about where we think the Falcons will go in a full 7-round mock draft. Running that scenario, we're gonna do our thing. So come check that out on Sunday. But yeah, that's really I definitely do want to dive into some stuff that has happened the past few weeks since Obviously, the big Kirk Cousins signing, the Darnell Mooney signing, some things that came out today. Obviously, going down in Florida is the annual NFL owners, head coaches. I would assume GMs are in it too. Convention, the annual convention, or whatever you want to call it, owners meetings where the NFL gets together, and they basically discuss, the state of the NFL and all that stuff, and also change some rules. And the man has a certain somebody who is the head of the rules committee or competition committee, or I know it's called one of those things. Has he been busy at work the past few days? Someone we know very well here in the Dirty Bird Nation, and someone that hopefully will not be directly involved with the Atlanta Falcons moving forward, as it has been said. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't want involved with anything that I hold a passion for. So anyways, man, let's go ahead and let's look at, where overall the Falcons have been, since the start of free agency. Obviously, you see at the banner, man, welcome Kirk Cousins. I don't even think I covered the Kirk Cousins press conference, man. I don't even think I covered that. But definitely, the first impression of Kirk Cousins is we finally got a grown-up in there. We finally obviously have a guy who is going to be able to take these young bucks like Bijan, like Drake, like Pitts, like Algier, and really take them under their wing, take all of them under his wing. That is what, Kirk Cousins is here to do, but Kirk Cousins is also here to win. And I'm going to go ahead and say that, personally, as I've, really thought about, and we've, heard more things, first of all, talking about Kirk's, Achilles, I personally am under the belief he's going to be ready to go week one. The Achilles, and maybe it should, the Achilles does not worry me with Kirk. I think Kirk, how Kirk has been with his agents, they like to make sure everything is straight, and I don't think he would necessarily sacrifice that, or in any way, shape, or form, without knowing that Achilles, it is going to be in a good shape. It is healing properly. The surgery was done properly. Kirk's the type of guy that it just seems like he's gonna have everything right and situated out. As far as that end of the scale goes. The other thing is this stupid tampering thing, I think, is bullshit. And obviously it's died down. I don't anticipate, us to, for all I know, maybe they do take a high draft pick from us, which if they do, I think is absolute bullshit, because Kirk was talking with our athletic trainers literally during the legal tampering period after he agreed to the contract. It's a legal tampering period for a reason. So, yeah, I just think that's some absolute BS. I don't plan on being on here too long, but I did definitely want to come on here and talk about, some of the big happenings that we have had. So obviously Kirk with his family, beautiful family, they're getting used to Atlanta. Well, I wouldn't really even say getting used to, as his wife, is from here, but, getting accustomed to their new home. They've checked out the bins, and they're really settling nicely up on the north side. But looking at some things, man, Falcons re-signed Kadero Hodge. I like that, especially because you have obviously a guy that's very solid on special teams, and a guy that's occasionally able to get a splash play on offense, which, I definitely like. And I think Zach Robinson's going to like as well, as we're going to see it. There's going to be a lot more explosiveness with Zach Robinson's offense. And I think even though Kadero Hodge, isn't, going to be an every down guy, he is solid depth. And he's also very good on special teams. And definitely a guy that, keeping Marquise Williams, I think he definitely likes, in that room. And matter of fact, I didn't even talk about the big news. This shows you how MIA I've really been. Desmond Ritter's no longer a Falcon. Desmond Ridder was traded to Arizona, and I'll go ahead and say, man, look, I rooted for Ridder. I wanted to see him succeed. I maybe wanted to think he could plausibly be, a guy for us. But unfortunately, he was not. I gave him a chance. I gave him more than one chance. I really wanted to believe that, he could be fixed, but it just came to a certain point where we realized this is a broken deal. We got to cut our ties. We got to let him loose. We got to let him have a fresh start. And part of that is his fault, but also part of that was how he was brought along by a certain someone who is now up in Pittsburgh. But yeah, the Falcons sent Desmond Ridder to Arizona, where he's going to have an opportunity to back up Kyler Murray. And, as far as how Ridder does the rest of his career, I don't know. That Ridder has potential. I don't think, anyone should deny that. But, man, also, you got to question how much has this kid, really been broken. So, overall, I really don't. I mean, I guess best of luck, in finding success just in much more than just football, getting accustomed to Phoenix and that whole area. But I really got nothing to say. I'm not going to go and say anything bad, but he's just no longer on the team. But I want to talk about the guy that we got for him. Typically, you see the Falcons typically, or just any team, maybe you get a fifth or a sixth. That's probably what we were expecting. Man, Terry pulled another one. I'm going to tell y'all something. Terry pulled another one. He got Rondell Moore, and I'm going to go ahead and say I think Rondell Moore, there's a lot of potential there with him. He is obviously a speed guy. I would predict that he is going to be our guy in the slot to take the top off those defenses, a guy that Kirk is going to be able to rely on, in those deep ball situations, wanting speed out there, wanting the home run. That is what Rondell Moore is, and it's not just that. Rondell Moore, you can use him on jet sweeps, end arounds. The boy's main thing is his speed. That is his gift. That is what he prides himself. Well, that's just who he is overall. What he prides himself off of. It's how he plays. He plays with speed. So at the end of the day, I would say Terry definitely. I think Terry did a pretty good job there with that one, and getting some good value back for a guy that, to be completely honest, I'm shocked anybody was really interested in. Getting back to some other signings, Falcons made some in-house moves. Signed Storm Norton back, nice depth on the offensive line. Kentavious Street, I think Kentavious Street, we saw he became an important part of that defense later in the season. That was definitely a good acquisition by Terry to beef up that defensive line for depth. And also, he can be a body there, man. He really can, and I think he can have a role in this defense. Maybe you see him, in that nose tackle spot, even though I would think maybe you want someone with a little bit bigger size, ultimately, I do think there is a role for Contavious Street on this team. And we saw him, and he was definitely valuable last year. So it's good to see that we brought him back. Now, another guy we signed is Ray McCloud. Ray, and this ties into the news that also broke today that Cordell Patterson is going to Pittsburgh, which I was not expecting. I absolutely that was probably one of the last teams I could have seen him going to, because Arthur Smith literally played a part in, CP, I think, not wanting to be a Falcon anymore. CP, he talked about for the longest time, really ever since he came here, why not retire a Falcon? Why not end my career off here on a high note? And obviously, CP had some amazing moments at times. Obviously is one of the best kick returners of all time. Ultimately, though, we see that last year in particular, we were told he's going to be this joker, this X Factor type player. But ultimately, the only joke there was on us, the fans, and CP. And CP was showing frustration on social media. So that's shocking to me that he went back to the guy that stimulated a lot of that frustration. But the Falcons did pick up Ray McCloud, who is a very nice speed guy. Another one, you notice we're adding a lot of speed here. It's going to look a lot different. We with Arthur Smith, it was a lot of those bully type receivers, a lot of those big frames. This time around, it's going to be a lot of speed, a lot of take the top off. But another thing I really think, Ray McCloud's your Cordell Patterson replacement. This new kickoff rule, which I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not a fan of. I think, that the XFL BS, we need to stop regulating the game of football. Bottom line, because this is basically inching closer and closer to flag football. We were joking about it at first, but now it's actually inching closer and closer to flag football. So, no, I'm not a fan of the new kickoff rule. I guess we'll see how it goes, but I don't like it. It's basically what the NFL has done today with the banning of the hip drop tackle, which I'm going to go ahead and say is one of the most basic fundamental tackles in the game. And this new kickoff rule, they basically want to make defense a non-factor. Like this is the fucking NBA at this point. And to me, that is just absolutely stupid. The way that the NFL, is trying to regulate the sport. But anyways, for it still, we got to live with it. And I do like the signing of Ray McCloud. He's obviously a kick return guy, a lot of speed. And I think, overall, we're talking about it. I think he can be a pretty good replacement for Cordell Patterson in that spot. And the Falcons also re-signed Nate Landman, my dog, my man, Nate Landman. I'm so glad we brought him back. I think that was really a no-brainer to do. For obvious reasons, man. He balled out last year, and I definitely think you find a role for him in this defense because that dude just plays with his ass on fire. So he continues to do that, and he's definitely going to continue to climb up the ranks. But yeah, so obviously we have had a lot of happenings as of recently. And we've also heard, Raheem Morris speak. He spoke to me today. He was actually on Pat McAfee today. Which, man, listen, I love Pat McAfee. I'm a big wrestling fan myself. I love what is going on right now in wrestling with The Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. I love what they're doing, especially with The Rock, man. And definitely he is, one of the big reasons why, WrestleMania has all this hype to it this year. Probably the main reason, because he's a freaking rock. But man, Pat McAfee, he had Raheem on today, and they basically, just talked about the basics. He talked about Kirk, and he said, they said it's got to be someone that, to put it in plain terms, is seasoned as a grown up. Where we're not going, and wasting. I'm not going to go and waste my first year as a second head coach, an opportunity it looked like at one point I may never get again, to go with a Justin Fields or go with a Desmond Ridder. As much as, I would have liked maybe a Jane Daniels or a Drake May, or someone like that. We're not going and wasting it on a rookie. It's too much uncertainty. So we're going to get the guy that we know is solid. We know what he's going to bring us. And we know at his best with the team that we have, we're a no doubt playoff team in the NFC, or at least we should be. So overall, man, looking at it from that perspective, it makes all the sense in the world. I think all of us really figure it. As far as the hype around the Falcons, obviously there's a lot of hype around the Falcons right now. Most hype there's been around the Falcons in probably about 7 years. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. The bandwagon, a lot of people are hopping onto it. And look, if you weren't riding with us during these rough years, just get your ass off. Get your ass off. There's no, just get your ass off. Go along about your day. Go to, go do whatever the fuck you do. But don't get on there. If you haven't been riding with us these past 5-6 years during 7-win season, 7-9, 7-10, find your way. As The Rock says, off is the direction you can fuck. But man, look, there is no excuse for the Falcons to not win the NFC South at this point. And to me, you gotta. When you talk about the pressure that is on Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris, and you talked about the pressure that was on, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith last year. To me, yes, there was pressure last year, but there is pressure to just show overall that you can play better, and maybe with how weak the division is, just show growth as a team. Maybe get into the playoffs, but just show growth overall as a team, and improve. Show overall improvement. This year, you got to win the division. And I would maybe even say it doesn't stop there. You probably have to win a playoff game also, because they're spending a lot of Arthur Blank's money. And I'm telling you, Arthur Blank, he ain't just going to be satisfied with a one and done this year. That's not how it's going to go. And God forbid let's say the Falcons finish 8-9. I don't even want to get into it. I really don't even want to get into it, because I don't think it's going to happen, but we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons. So overall, if you ask me to put an early win total on it, I could definitely see 11-6. Now, the schedule is very tough. We have to keep that in mind. The schedule's going to be very tough. We got some big dogs, some heavy hitters on this schedule. So it's a very tough schedule. But with all the money that's been spent, you got to go out. You got to win those games. You got to get to the playoffs. And obviously from there, anything can happen. But as far as, the draft goes, really, starting off this conversation, obviously the Falcons have not been able to land that premier pass rusher. We tried to land Daniel Hunter. We just couldn't. He chose to go home to the Texans. they had more guaranteed money that we just couldn't get because we already had signed Kirk. Not only that, it's really been talked about a potential Hassan Reddick trade, and I'm gonna go ahead and say at first I really wasn't too fond of trading for Hassan Reddick, but now I would do it, but still I would be hesitant to trade anything over a third for him, and then you're gonna have to pay the man as well. So ultimately, I think what that leads you to is I think the Falcons, you got to go in the draft, and this is the year. You gotta do it. You gotta go draft your guy, draft that premier edge rusher, and develop him. And obviously, I'm a big Dallas Turner guy. I would love to see Dallas Turner here. I feel like he can fit that mold of an outside linebacker. You got some guys in here. And also another thing that I think we really have to look at as well is let me pull something up. Let me pull something up here. Bear with me for just a second, because one thing about it is obviously the development and all that stuff. It's very key for how we look at this stuff. So let me go ahead and okay. So obviously, really looking at it, I was just looking up. I was looking up to actually see who our outside linebacker coach is. Just Jacquez Smith. He has experience in the NFL. He's played in the NFL. He played in Tampa Bay. He went around the league afterwards. He's played in Detroit, played in Arizona. So all in all, you have guys with NFL experience, So to me, ultimately, you got to go regardless. This is the year to get that guy coming off the edge. There is, I don't think, any excuse not to. You got to do it early in this draft. And I feel like it's going to happen. And I really don't know how I feel saying that. Because it has been shown that Terry's DNA, or at least his past history, has been, look at where he's gone. His first 3 drafts in the first round in order: tight end, wide receiver, running back. He loves those skill guys. But we have our skill guys now. We have our quarterback. Now, it's been said, could we use one more receiver? Maybe do we go and get a Rome Odunze from Washington? But to be completely honest, I think if you can get an Xavier Legette or someone like that in the second round, and look at who you're dealing with Zach Robinson. This is the guy, y'all know Puka Nacua. It was a 5th round pick, Ryan, and we saw how he turned out last year. So all in all, they can draft a guy in the 4th, 5th round and make him out to be a serviceable receiver. And when you have Kirk Cousins at quarterback, you have Zach Robinson an offensive coordinator, and you have the explosiveness. Ultimately, I can trust you drafting a receiver later on. I think you got to go defense early in this draft. You address your offense in free agency. You really, if I'm thinking correctly, you have not made one out of house defensive signing yet in free agency. And to me, I think that goes to tell you that it's in your pursuit of a pass rusher, I think your best bet is to stay at 8 and get Dallas Turner, who is the best edge rusher in this draft. And you go and listen, Dallas Turner has a lot of speed. Now, his technique definitely is a concern, and I think it's something they're going to have to get right. But overall, I would definitely I'm making it known right now that is the guy I want. But I also feel like, even though that's who I do want, that doesn't necessarily mean 100% it's going to happen, even though I think it should. The Falcons, if they do get the right offer, I could see trade back. Now, I feel like as far as this trade back conversation goes, it's in the cards, it's on deck, but you got to get the right offer. You got to get a feasible amount to move back, and then I think in that case, if you move back, obviously, maybe you go and get a Jared Verse or a Latu, which, listen, the thing with Latu is this. Number one, the neck issues are definitely a concern. And, I've been, told, oh, he has the highest ceiling, he's this, he's that. Ultimately, do we remember what happened last time we drafted an edge rusher out of UCLA? So think about that. But before, I'm not saying Latu is that certain someone, but do you remember what happened the last time we drafted an edge rusher out of UCLA? I'll rest my case there. But it ultimately feels like to me, if the Falcons, it's either going to be an edge rusher or a cornerback in the first round, because another thing that I definitely am probably going to, have to talk about here coming up soon is AJ Terrell. And I love AJ Terrell. I definitely, I give him the benefit of the doubt a lot because I really like him. Hometown kid, went to Westlake. But it's time for AJ to get the bag. And how much AJ wants is going to depend on if he is here post this year, if he's even here this year, because obviously we still got a long way to go till the season. And personally, to me, I think they're probably in those contract talks right now, and he's probably letting them know what he wants, Now, L'Jarius Sneed just got paid $19 million annually. To me, I'm paying AJ about 15, 16 annually. That's about, what I would say I would cap paying him at. But that's definitely going to have to be a discussion we have for another day. And obviously, we're going to have a lot more of these, as we inch closer to the draft. As I say, Sunday night, me and Blake will be doing the mock draft. And I'll probably plan on doing it, every Sunday leading into the NFL draft. So all in all, it definitely business is getting ready to pick up. Draft season's underway. We're going to be looking into prospects, checking prospects out, seeing what these prospects are, if they can fit our team. And because that's a big thing, man, fit is key. And these relationships are key. Who's coached these players? Where's the connection at? This, that, the other. So ultimately, man, we're going to get into all of that. So I'm getting ready to head out. What's going on, Jerry? I see you in there. I'm getting ready to head out, though. If you're watching back on replay, you're watching live, you know what to do. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the post notification bell, hit the like button, and I'll see you all in the next one.